Welcome to this video where we are talking about dictionaries, and this is another data type to store multiple values that we also call compound data types. List was another compound data type, but now it's a bit different. We are not storing values by indices, we are storing them by keys, like in a dictionary. So the syntax is as follows. We have curly brackets that are encapsulating our data. So these curly brackets, they encapsulate multiple key value pairs. So every field is not a standalone value anymore. It's always the value together with the key. As you can see, the key value pairs are separated with commas, like in lists. And the key value pairs, they are separated, like the key is separated from the value using a colon. So we have always the key. It's very often a string, can also be a number, but in this case it's a string. And then we have the colon, and then comes the number. It's similar to a dictionary. If you open the dictionary, you're looking for example, the city of Berlin. You're looking for the key that is Berlin. You go to the corresponding pages that start where the key starts with a B. Then you're looking for Berlin, and then the value would be the text explaining the city, how many people are living there, etc. So this is how it works here as well. We have always a key with the corresponding value. The keys are very often strings, because this is what you are used to semantically describe something. And the values can be arbitrary data type. It can be a floating point number, it can be integer, but also another string. So this is also arbitrary, and you can of course also mix up different data types in the same variable, in the same dictionary. So let's have a look on some further functionalities. If you want to delete one key value pair, you can use the del command. For example, del, then mydict, and then naming the key. This is also how you are going to select a different key, like a key value pair, by just naming the key, not the index anymore, how we saw it in list. And then, as you can see, the key is removed. If you want to have a new field, you can simply add it by naming a new key and then override it with the value 1 in this case. If the key was already existing, what you're doing is you are overwriting the old one. If it was not existing in this case, you are creating a new one. So we have deleted one key, and then we are created a new one. So we can also have nested dictionaries. So we can have a dictionary in a dictionary, and we can have a list in a dictionary. As I said, these lists, or like the data types in the values, are arbitrary. So no matter what, you can also have dictionaries in dictionaries, and even dictionaries in dictionaries in dictionaries. So you can nest it as much as you want. Another thing to mention here is these keys, they can also be numbers. In this case, we have the number 1, that is the first key, and 3.1, that is a float. Even a float can be a key. And in the nested dictionary of the first field, you can even see that we can mix up the keys of a dictionary, having at the same time integers and strings. But usually most people are using strings here for the very easy reason that like strings is what human is using for semantically describing things. We can also loop over dictionaries. So we saw the for loop in one of the previous videos. If you write something like for I in D, what happens here is that I, our variable that is taking all the elements of your compound data type, in this case D, is then using the keys, not the values, very importantly. So if you are having something like this, what you're doing is you're actually printing the keys. The keys were 1 and 3.1, but you are not printing the values. If you want to print the values, you need to come up with a construction like this, where in the body is there is a D and then square brackets to address this, or to get the value of this specific field. Again, I is the corresponding key, so then you get the values in such a construction. And I'm going to show you in the Jupyter notebook how you can do it in a different way in a second. But before we do that, let's have a look at the table of data types. And now we have a new data type, the dictionaries. In short, Python is always talking about dict. And this is a set of key value pairs. You also see an example here. And the detection is by the curly bracket if you are specifying a new variable and Python interpreter is seeing the curly bracket, it knows, okay, we are expecting key value pairs. And if you are not coming up with key value pairs, you get an error. So let's open our Jupyter notebook again. We are going to define a dictionary, something like this. We are coming up with a string as the first key, then having a value here like 12, then having another key that is now a float, having a string here. So this works, and you can also, of course, output that dictionary as follows. And let's try some stuff. We are going to have another field with a 1 and 2. And as you can see, this is not possible because the second one was overwriting the first one. So this is actually the case that Python dictionaries, they need to have unique keys. If you are accessing a key like this, the Python interpreter needs to know which field to output, and hence they need to be unique. So let's for loop over this dictionary. We have a like an arbitrary name for our variable that is taking all the keys of the dictionary like this. Let's print that. So we have here the keys being printed, and if you want to use the corresponding values, you need to access the values in every run similar to this construction. And some people, they want to use a specific method for dictionaries that is actually called items. And when you do something like this, you get the keys and the values at the same time. So that is very useful. You can then come up with something like this, key value, and they are stored in both variables individually. So you get actually the key and then the value. Let's use a colon here for better visibility. So this is how it is preferred to go over dictionaries. Just use the method items and you are good to go in a for loop. So this is it for dictionaries. In the next video, we are going to have a look how to get user input during the runtime of your program. So stay tuned.